I messaged him on WhatsApp. I tried to call him, but he was not picking up the call, so maybe he's busy or maybe call may not be around. But I'll wait for him. And so last time, I think we were still discussing the consequences of stress, right?
Yeah.
So this is probably session, what, 17?
17 sounds right.
Yeah, session 17. Well, I think we discussed the effects of Ghati karmas, and now we need to discuss some effects of Ghati karma. Right? That's pretty much where we are. Did we continue discussing on Ghati karma or in last month or no? Everyone's clear on the effects of Ghati karma?
I think that's probably a good place to pick up.
Yeah. So Ghati karmas basically are the ones in which the ultimate effects or ultimate result, primary result is observed in the soul and in the consciousness. So, for example, Gnanavarni karma. In the Udaya of Gnanavarni karma, ultimately Jeev is not able to gain knowledge, and the knowledge is very limited. So we can see, when we observe different species, the diversity in the life forms on the planet or everywhere, you can see that certain life forms are extremely intelligent. Some life forms are really not that intelligent. Some have very limited grasping power. Some have more grasping power. Even in the human, some have very higher intellectual capacity. Some have very little intellectual capacity. And these things vary. Like, for example, I'm not just talking about ability to grasp knowledge through senses. That's one type of knowledge called Mati Gnan. Then there are other types of knowledge like thinking ability, rationalization, ability to rationalize. There are different types of knowledge, right? This ability to rationalize and do things, process it is called Shrut Gnan in Jainism. So all living beings, whether they are microbes or they are human, they have at least Mati and Shrut Gnan in everyone. But there are some other types of living beings, such as some heavenly living beings, more so-called aliens in our modern terms. They do even possess, and the hellish beings, they also possess Avadhignan by just virtue of that species. Just like birds possess ability to fly, these other beings, alien beings, possess ability to have extrasensory knowledge called Avadhignan. And similarly, some highly accomplished monks, Jain Muni, Jain Muni could also have possess Manparya Gnan, Avadhignan, Manparya Gnan, and then if they become omniscient, then they will have only Keval Gnan. So there are various forms of knowledge, but ultimately the effect you see is in the Udaya of Gnana, or in the presence of Gnanavarniya Karma, the ultimate effect is that consciousness is not able to learn as much as it should have in various forms of knowledge. That's one thing. Second is perception. So one thing is, what's the difference between, just a second. So what's the difference between the perception and the knowledge? Nishu, do you know what's the difference between perception and knowledge? Gnan and darshan gun?
You may be able to you may know something, but that doesn't necessarily mean it reflects in your behavior.
No, that's not the difference between Gnan and darshan. When we say Gnan gun, darshan gun, well, darshan, the word darshan is used in multiple contexts. When we say Samyak Gyan Darshan Charitra, that in that sense, darshan means the belief. But when we say, when we talk about the attributes of consciousness, when we say Gnan, Darshan, Charitra, all that thing, at that time darshan means something else, not Shraddha. Darshan at that time means, so basically here's the difference. When you, before we know, like this whole process of learning happens so fast that we don't even recognize the different stages of learning. Before the learning can occur, we at least come to be aware of the existence about something. So when we see a snake outside, First, we become aware of the shape. Hey, there is something out there. We don't know exactly what it is out there. But then there are 4 stages after, and that's just knowing that something is out there. Just the existence, recognizing the existence is called perception in Jainism. You don't know anything else at that point. It's just the existence of that object that you have recognized, and that's a perception. The perception in living beings like us, perception occurs first, and then there are 4 stages of knowledge: avagra, iva, avaya, and dharana. Means then there's a process of how we gain knowledge and how we retain it. That's what's described in the Tattva Sutra. So we question ourselves further. Okay, this all happens subconsciously in like matter of a fraction of time, basically. So we then ask ourselves what it is out there. Then we inquire about further that okay, this is. Then we get some answer that this is this, and then we confirm it that yes, this is indeed that. And then if we are able to put it into our retention knowledge, which is called dharagnan, then and then that knowledge will retain for certain period of time. Think about it. When you're driving, you see so many things on your way, in your journey. You don't necessarily retain everything during the day. You only retain certain things that really went into your retention memory. Is dharagnan. So that's the difference between darshan and gnan. Is that clear? Just recognizing the existence of an object, not knowing anything else, is a perception, and then having more knowledge about basically detailed understanding of that object, at least a little more detail than the existence. Anything beyond that is considered knowledge. So in Kevali Bhagwan, in one who is omniscient, they have this process of Keval Gnan and Keval Darshan. Means infinite perception and infinite knowledge. It's happening simultaneously. It's like they know everything, they perceive everything in nature at the same time. For us, things happen sequentially. We perceive first, and then we know. We perceive first, and we know. And that's the limitation that we have. And Darshanavarni, so in the Uday of Darshanavarni karma, a lot of people who are blind, they don't even have perception, right? Forget about knowledge. If you don't have perception, they are not going to have knowledge from that form. The Chakshu Darshan, you don't have Chakshu Darshan. That's a Uday of Darshanavarni karma. Ultimate effect is observed that soul loses its ability to perceive. Consciousness loses its ability to perceive. That's the ultimate effect of whatever the Uday of karma is. And so now keep in mind, again, karma is just a nimit or instrumental or external cause. It's the ability of soul to not perceive. For example, think about a soul with the Audi darshan. Audi darshan means extrasensory perception. For those people, they may even perceive it without the help of their senses too. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you don't have senses, you don't have a perception. It's not that. Perception is independent. Yeah, in this mode of Chakshu Darshan and sensory perception, it just happens to be that when you lose senses, so consciousness also happens to lose the ability to perceive. They happen simultaneously. Now, third one, any questions so far? Third one is what do you call Mohaniya karma. So in Mohaniya karma, the basically ultimate result, there are 2 types of Mohaniya karma, right? Darshan Mohaniya and Charitra Mohaniya. Darshan Mohaniya basically pollutes our beliefs. Basically, it's the ultimate effect is in terms of what we believe and what our view about the universe is, who we are not, what is worth doing, what is not worth doing, what is in our benefit, what is not in our benefit, what is our real happiness, what is not our happiness. All of these things are basically a result of the Darshan Mohaniya karma. So ultimately, result is in the soul. Similarly, Charitra Mohaniya is basically about our emotions: anger, ego, deceit, and greed. So what we perceive, what we don't perceive. What we feel and what we don't feel, basically. So if we feel anger, then whatever the situation may be outside, and ultimately our bodies may be expressing anger, but the ultimate result is anger, which is within the consciousness, and that's the result of darshan monia karma. So, and then again, antraya karma. Antraya karmas are basically of 5 types, pretty much. Gnan antraya, labh antraya, dhan antraya, yoga antraya, and there was one other type of forgot. So all in the uday of antraya karma, Jeev is basically, our consciousness is not able to attain the benefit that it was supposed to attain. So in terms of knowledge, it will obstruct its ability to perceive, gain knowledge. It will not, if it was going to benefit from something, then that benefit will not occur to consciousness. So ultimate result of that benefit won't occur. So ultimate result is within the consciousness. That's why this antraya karma is also classified as a ghati karma. And then there are agatya karmas. Agatya karmas are where the primary result is observed in the circumstances or in the body or in the surroundings. So vedniya karma. In the vedniya karma, there are 2 types of vedniya karma: sata vedniya and asata vedniya. Sata vedniya uday, there are basically sensation of pleasure occurs in the body, and this sensation of pleasure, this is not extrasensory pleasure. This is a sensory pleasure that we are talking about, that most of the living beings identify it as a pleasure, like, right? Sensory pleasures, things that most people think that gives them the enjoyment, worldly enjoyment, so-called worldly enjoyment, sensory enjoyments. So that is a result of Shatavedni. Now, we also, time to time, we also experience pain in a body, or uncomfort in the body. So those type of sensations in body will be generated through asata vedniya karma. If we had some sort of injury, I would say that's primarily uday of asata vedniya karma and nam karma both. Right? If the injury caused major deformity in the body, and yes, it's a uday of nam karma as well, and as well as if it brought out a lot of pain in the body, then it's also a uday of asata vedniya karma as well, both combination. But sometimes we may have an injury where it does not really bring a major deformity in the body, but feels a lot of pain. It's primarily uday of asata vedniya karma. And sometimes you may have injury which may not bring too much pain, but a lot brings physical deformity in the body. Then that you can identify as a major uday of nam karma. Nam karma is what constitutes the formation of our body and our senses and our brain and everything, basically. That's governed by nam karma. And then finally, not finally, there is Ayusha karma. Ayusha karma, you can imagine more like a battery, that it just comes fixed from a previous birth. In previous birth, so when there is a actual formula of how Jeev acquires or bonds the Ayusha karma for next life in this present life, and when that occurs, at what time frame it occurs, and how it bonds. Basically, depending upon your state of mind, in certain period in life, 2/3 of your life is left, then the Ayusha karma is born. And if the state of mind is really convoluted with the kashayas and everything, darshan monia and the charitra monia and everything, then a jiva attains either naragati or tiryanjagati. But if it's a little bit better state of mind, then jiva also may attain manushya gati, the human or heavenly form, and that would determine its next lifespan. So this, how the lifespan gets bonded, how long they can be, in what form, and then what are the benefits of having what form. Everything is in so much detail in the Twat Sutra, if you like to know. This is extreme. All these species that we talk about, they're actually documented in so much detail. The general classification of these species is documented in so much detail in Jain scriptures. So Ayusha karma is more like a battery. A lot of times Ketan, you can tell us your experiences from the hospital, right? That a lot of times you guys observe that you guys do the best you can with all the instruments that may be available, all the treatments may be available. The person is not able to survive, and person becomes dead. So why would we see such a diversity or such a difference in case to case basis?
Interestingly, even unexpected stuff. Think babies who may have you thought would do perfectly fine wind up not doing so well or even die. So you never are able to predict, truly able to predict. It
Yeah.
is what it is, right?
Yep.
And on the other side, do you have people surviving
No,
crazy
extreme
stuff?
cases, yeah.
Well,
So for Cavely, I've recently ordered a small magazine. It's a kids Jain magazine, and that comes from India. It's published in Hindi. And one of the cases that they were just highlighting this Ayusha Dharma was that one girl, a toddler, probably about 6, 7 year old, she fell from their balcony and she fell in the downstairs on the floor. And, like one basically what was that fence that they had in front of their house went through her body basically through here probably.
oh my gosh.
From the second floor she fell and the fence literally went through her body, and on the other side she was kind of stuck on the fence when she fell. They took her to the hospital and she survived and she's doing just fine. And you can imagine, I mean, this is the most unlikeliest scenario to survive, where she fell from the second floor, such a young girl, such a young body, and then also having a really very critical injury on a critical part of her body and still being able to survive. And stuff like that, I've heard cases where people go into anesthesia for really minor outpatient surgeries and stuff like that, and then they never come back and they die. So cases like that I also observed. One of the cases that one of my friend actually recently told me was one of their relative uh, I got identified with cancer. So what happened was, while they were trying to think about what to do with cancer and how to contain it, they also discovered that she also had some heart issue or something like that. So then the doctors decided that before they can do anything with cancer, they have to do something with that heart problem. And what happened was, and even before they do anything with that issue, one day she just fell so much ill, and suddenly she died. And then when they did their autopsy, their medical exam, it just could not determine any conclusive evidence. Although yes, she did have a heart problem, but it was not that it was a heart attack. And it wasn't really something that their cancer suddenly spread or did something like that. It wasn't that the case either. Something just happened that they just couldn't determine, that just heart stopped beating. Her heart simply stopped beating. Nothing else. It's like, and her husband was a doctor himself. That lady who basically passed away, her husband was a doctor, and he made every attempt to at least find the root cause of what really led to the event. And then they just concluded that it was just nothing but simply her heart stopped beating. And the doctor is Jain actually, and thinking that I can attribute this to nothing but just the Ayusha karma. That's what he said, because there is no other cause that can explain this. So it's more like a battery. If once the battery runs out, I mean, the body stops. Your life is over, and the bond breaks, and this consciousness leaves the body and goes to next birth. That's the Ayusha karma. And then finally, there is a Gotra karma. There is an interesting relationship between actions and actions of our mind, body, and speech of our entire life to what type of family we get born in. There is an interesting relationship. A lot of times, this is a very interesting thing. That in India, there is a caste system, right? There are Brahmins. There are nowadays it's not. I mean, the castes are still there. I mean, it's not as dominant as in the old times. where there were Brahmins who would do certain things, and then there were Kshatriyas who would do certain things. I mean, you could imagine the concept of caste on the basis of profession. That certainly makes sense. And what happens is in the Hindu society, a lot of times, a lot of the lower castes were outcasted, basically. That type of discrimination certainly doesn't really make sense. But there is a other extreme of this. Okay, there are extreme of this where you could have no distinguish. You will not distinguish, or there is no identification of castes. And there's people who believe that okay, we shouldn't really believe in this caste system at all. Okay, believing it in on the basis of profession, it's okay. That's fine. It's just helps us organize a society. But, discrimination is certainly not a good thing. We shouldn't really discriminate with anyone. But there are reasons why you at least want to recognize the differences between different castes and different types of family backgrounds. That certainly affects how we live. So think of some castes in India where alcohol, meat, eating meat, all the even the vices that you call in life, like gambling and certain things, are really prevalent in those families. So those are the families who really struggle in life too, a lot of times. And then there are families where ethics is at the highest form. Values are great. They don't have any vices like alcohol and stuff like that. You would see most of the Jain family. I can't say nowadays so conclusively, but yeah, at one point in time, there was this impression in the society that Jains are most worthy of doing business. They are the most ethical people, most trustworthy. They don't have any vices in their life. They don't waste their money. They believe in getting good education. They believe in doing a lot of philanthropic activities, and they're entrepreneurs. They're very well established, well developed, well-rounded people. On the other hand, you would find castes or the family backgrounds that struggle in all aspects of life. So why is this different? Why would one person be born in one family versus one person would be born in other family? Is there a phenomena? Is there a reason? Is there a cause that governs this phenomena? And Jain karma theory basically answers these questions. That yes, Ian Stevenson, who was doing research prior to Dr. Jim Tucker. Remember the documentary that we saw? So Dr. Ian Stevenson was actually investigating an interesting case. He was investigating the phenomena, trying to find out if mafias, people who were mafias in previous birth, are more likely to become mafias in their next birth or not, or born in such a family or not. And there's some article about it. If I can find it, I will send it to you. But whether getting the evidence is a really difficult thing in science, right? It's not so easy. Science have no way of really concluding, finding out where this consciousness were in the other birth. There are so many limitations. But when you look at this theory as a whole, it just gives you such a rational mechanism that how this phenomena can occur. So this Gotra karma is basically about how we get birth in different family backgrounds based on who we are, what we do in this life form. So it just certainly advocates that we remain our life in much more ethical and moral ways, and not in pap kriyas or unethical and violent behaviors. So if we live our lifestyle as per the Jain conduct, Jain Shravakacha, then that really covers all the bases. But not just that. The other thing is, once a person attains Samyak Darshan, that person will never attain life form of being a female or being born in a hell or hellish being or in a Triyantikati, or he would never even acquire birth in a lower backgrounds, lower caste or background, family backgrounds. So that's why Samyak Darshan is so important. So that's one of the things I wanted to cover. Now, There were a couple of other points. Any questions up until this point? We pretty much covered all the different type of karmas here. Any questions? Are you guys clear on the functionality of different type of karmas? You can go into as much detail as you like in karma theory. It's extremely detailed. There is, in fact, a lot of mathematics involved as well in this karma theory. And the mathematics is there in granthas as well. In Ratna Karantra, I'm not Ratna Karantra. Gomatsar Karma Kand, that's one granth. Then Shatkandagam. Shatkandagam is another one. So those are the different things. There were other karmas. Okay. Let's
All the
okay. So, intense passions. Whether we recognize those passions or not, they are actually indeed uh, intense passions because they make us wander for infinite lives. So these passions are known at this stage of mithya darshan or wrong belief. It's called extreme. Now, within this extreme state of extreme stress, you can classify it in two ways. You could take a person who don't indulge in a lot of violent, unethical, and more immoral behavior. You could take a person who does get involved in 8 types of uh, violent behavior, unethical behavior like gambling and non-vegetarianism, hunting, and then prostitution, drugs, all these things, as well as having intense form of violence, no restraint in life about what to eat, not to eat, and what to do, not to do, extreme violence, extreme amount of greed, being able, that type of person will go to any extent to earn money. They will do whatever it takes to earn the amount of money they want. Those type of, remember those type of behaviors, panch pap and sat type of lessons or the addictions that we covered in previous stages. That stage is the worst form of stress. It is uncontained extreme stress. A person who, yes, have a wrong beliefs in life, but at least his someone involved in a state of stress, you could term it as a. So when a person lives state of uncontained extreme stress, what's the effect? I want to tell you what's the effect in their upcoming life or in their current life. So that person acquires worst form of Gnanavariya, Darshanavariya, Mohaniya, and Antaraya Karma. Basically, over the time, he will go into become and turn into a species where you will have very little knowledge, like microbes or insects we see. There was a, I don't know, there was a king of England. I don't know if you have heard. It was a King William, King Henry. I known to be just alcoholism and just was a womanizer, and was not very was thinking about welfare of his kingdom in general. He would just remain engaged in sensory pleasure all the time and very violent activities. That king, I heard on a Discovery Channel or History Channel one time that towards the end of his life, he was in such a pathetic situation that he wasn't even able to move, and he died such a terrible death, such a terrible natural death. He was so sick in his body that his doctors just couldn't do anything for him. Just so sick. So I mean, this was just an example that the consequences that he suffered in a very same life. But the very next life, what happens is that person will acquire such a gatya karma. He will have extremely worst form of kashayas, worst form of beliefs, mithya darshan, and then there are no external conducive circumstances to basically inspire him to come out of it. Right now we are in a circumstances where we at least we are able to hear that these are the wrong behaviors and will lead us to wrong destination. At least we know that, and we have ability to improve ourselves. In that state, there will be no conducive atmosphere. So you will be in such a state, and think about it. Even for humans who have such a high levels of kashayas, darshan moniya karma, I would say, or mittatva, they don't even have question arise in their mind that who am I really? Where am I coming from? What's my real existence? How is this really happening? How is everything really happening to me? What are the consequences of my action? These questions don't even arise to the people who are really who have really strong mithyatva. Strong mithyatva means that they're just so much engrossed in their own wrong beliefs and kashas that they would not even think about their real welfare in life. So there are very few people in life who think of their real welfare.
I'm I'm not sure people don't think about stuff like that. They just have a different way of thinking about it.
I mean, if you think about it, most of the people don't even care, right? In life, they're like, if you observe most people in life, most of their life goes into how do I make money, and how do I make more money, and how do I make more money. That's all it is. You get it? I mean, a lot of people just goes to that. Some people, how do I make more money? How do I spend more money? How do I get more money? This type of thinking just does not even occur. And even if it were to occur, it's like, okay, how do I make my body more healthy? But the fundamental analysis of what is my real existence? Where was I before my birth? Did I just come? What will happen to me after birth? These questions don't even arise in their mind. And what's the real? How does this all govern together? Most people don't even think about this. They don't really care in life. So that type of thinking won't even occur. And in terms of agatya karma, person may acquire forms of really lower forms of life, gotra karma, really unpleasant circumstances like being born in a Tiryan Jagati. We all can see the unpleasant circumstances that are in the Tiryan Jagati, right? How many dukh, how many hardships that they face. And in the hellish beings face even worse for thousands and thousands of years, for at least, or millions and billions of years sometimes. And same thing, if you born in Nigod, which is also part of Tiryan Jagati, Nigod is even worse. You get born 17 times in the duration of one respiration cycle. It's that much, it's like when being born in potatoes, and then at that point in time when we have too much attachment with our own stuff, that this is my house and this is my body and this is me, you don't even get your own body. You share one body shared by in. So here we claim this ownership of my body, that this is my body, I will do whatever I want, this is my life, and so much attachment. But then in that, to those kashayas, you don't even get your own body. You're sharing such a tiny form of body in that such a hard place with so many consciousness, and you're being reborn 17 times in just a fraction of a second. It is just that.
Right, you have to forgive me. I need to go take care of some babies, but I'm going to leave the recording on and then send it out. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. How do I turn off?
You don't. I'll take care of it. I'm just going to leave it on. It's going to stay on. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, you guys. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Those are the effects. And then that we covered Nam Karma. A lot of times we see some people are born really ugly. Some people are born really with really, really good features. What really governs this? Some species are good looking. We find in India most people say kagalo, right? So people dislike kagalo. They don't like. Then people like ducks or hunts. It is a beautiful bird. I mean, and same of the differences we observe in humans, life to life, person to person. So, Ashubh Nam Karma. Basically, when we acquire that brings also forms of deformity and stuff like that. And Shubh Nam Karma basically brings uh, good physical features and stronger body, stuff like that. Yeah. And now next question is. Uh, Someone may just let me look at my agenda here. Yeah, what about external prosperity, right? Some people are born rich, some people are not born rich. They're really poor. Some people remain poor despite working so hard their entire life. Some people just earn a lottery without doing anything and earn so much. So why do we see these variations? Does that mean that earning, we doing really really hard work all the time, spending our entire life in just earning money, would that result in more money? Hard work, so much more hard work will result in more money. So what really governs our prosperity? The real cause of our prosperity is the uday of our Vedniya karma, basically. If you are uday of a good Vedniya karma, then you may acquire a lot of prosperity uh, in life. But if you don't have uday of, if you have uday of Ashata Vedniya karma, then you may not acquire the prosperity in life. And that doesn't mean that we have to stop working or doing anything. Yeah, I mean we have to work. That's the way it comes into it. Basically, that's just a nimit karan that we call. It's not the real cause. If our working hard was the real cause of earning money, then people who do the most amount of work would have the highest amount of money. But that's not the case. That just shows that there's some other reason governing the wealth, not just our hard work. Hard work is just the external cause.
So which karma governs wealth?
I believe Vedniya karma. Vedniya karma.
Vednika.
Yeah. Vedniya karma is basically ultimately governs that type of. Well, in reality, the result you see around is a combination of all 8 karmas. Right? Just not one karma or other. So at times you can associate it with one or other karma. Like suppose you were born in a rich family. That's just not a Vedniya karma only. Vedniya karma, Gotra karma, a lot of different karmas coming together.
Right.
So it's a combination of circumstances basically. So that's one other thing. But there is a disadvantage of spending the entire life and entire time in just earning money and thinking about worldly pleasures. And that is that eventually we will acquire such a species that we would have no way of progressing. And ultimately those kashayas are going to result in circumstances that brings us the least favorable circumstances or unpleasant circumstances in there overall. So the message is we should not only think about just earning money entire time of our life. We should spend also a bit of time in contemplating our real welfare, who we really are, why is this stress occurring, how can I reduce this stress, how can I eradicate it from the root cause, what is the root cause of stress, and why do people see these variations and what can I do about it. Now certain people may argue, one final point I wanted to make was certain people may argue is, would I remain a good human being? I just remain a good human being. I won't do violent activities. I will not participate in unethical and immoral activities. I don't want to do anything further. Why should I learn about Jain
and
philosophy
help
further?
and help people at the same time.
Yeah. Huh?
Do good and help people at the same
Yeah, I
time.
just help people and just be a good human being. Why do I need to spend so much time in learning about so much theory and then learning more about these advanced concepts of stress management?
I think that was one of the questions that came up during the past 3-4 weeks.
Okay. So the answer is, uh, there are ups and downs in the emotions that human feel. We all feel. So according to Jainism, living being won't be able to continue to sustain Ashubha. It means unethical and violent and immoral activities continues, as well as you will not be able to sustain even ethical behavior also for a longer period of time. It's kind of like a continuously changing. So you're oscillating from inauspicious to auspicious thoughts and behaviors continuously in life. Now, what happens is this just happens to be a cycle such that if you don't progress in this window of opportunity towards Samyak state of Samyak Darshan, which is eradicating the root cause and coming out of a state of extreme stress, then eventually that behavior goes so low that you're not always able to sustain high level of morale and high level of morality and a high level of ethics in your life. Then that behavior will definitely come down to a point where then eventually it will take you
It's a
to,
slippery slope.
yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's kind of like this. You are in this window of opportunity. From here, you have a chance to jump out of that trajectory and go into a different trajectory. If you don't, then it's kind of like you're coming down, and then it's a slippery slope. And then it just takes you in such a life form that if you lose this window of 2000 sagas, sagar is basically a unit of time in Jainism. Sagar is really, really, there is a definition in Jainism. It's a really, really long period of time, like billions and billions of years. In a whole life cycle of infinite years, really a tiny, tiny window, 2000 sagas. During that time frame, 2000 sagas, a living being or consciousness is able to come out of Nigodh Avastha, which is a microbes form, into a more 2 to 5 sensory or a living being state. So, like being human, being animal, being other types of species that we can see moving and stuff like that. If in that window of opportunity, and even in that 2000 sagas, there are only 24 human forms that you acquire, human births. Most of the time, either you are in a Tiryant Avastha, or you are in a like you become an insect, or you become like a hellish being or heavenly being. There's not much opportunity to progress and go into a state of some expression like it's in a human form. Yes, other gatis can attain human form. The majority of the opportunities, conducive environment you get is in a human form. So in human form, in that 24 lifespan, sometimes you become like some people some are aparyapt. It means sometimes we get die even in the womb. We don't even take birth. Sometimes uh, we become disabled, or we become what you call mandbuddhi, is a mentally disabled person or stuff like that. Sometimes you may be born in a family environment where you may have no exposure to these type of concepts to go into a state of samagdarshan or state of reduced stress. It's a different trajectory. So it's a rare opportunity to basically understand this and to really then make an effort and to go into a different state, come out of this slippery slope. And if we lose this opportunity, that will, and this going into a different trajectory, which we mean by attaining samyak darshan, is eradicating the wrong belief by truly understanding who we really are, our true nature of the soul, and through the right experience of the soul, right extrasensory pleasure. That will only happen by understanding who we are, through understanding this main philosophical concepts. And that's why it's so much important to basically continue learning this. And that argument that why do I not just remain a good human being? But good human being, although physical behaviors may be good, intentions may be good, if our thoughts and our beliefs are convoluted, and we believe we do things, good things in life with a state of doership, means I am doing it. And we have unrecognized egos. Also, by doing good things, if we think that that brings us good, we have unrecognized expectations in life as well. And whether we believe it or not, egos are egos, whether they're recognized or unrecognized, whether they occur knowingly or unknowingly. Expectations are also basically are not a good thing in life. No one would consider getting something in return is a good thing in life. Although you may not expect a return from that person, you may expect just a supernatural return, that when I do good things in life, good will happen to me. And people do spend a considerable amount of life in doing good activities, philanthropic activities, with this belief that when you do good in life, only good happens to you. Yes, that's right, but you don't have to do that with that expectation. It is these expectations that eventually is basically backbone of the kashayas, and that eventually leads us to the slippery slope. So coming out of this slippery slope, which is getting into a state of semi-aggressionism,
What would you say to someone who says, "Oh, even we as Jains, we do good in life so that good happens to us." Uh,
can you what?
what would you say to someone who says, "Oh, even you as a Jain, you're doing this because you're expecting good to happen to you in future"?
I mean, you don't. I mean, we don't have to tell anyone, right? I mean, we all we need to tell people is, and first we need to understand is that before we make any decision, see, most of the time we carry on our preconceived notions. We have our own notions in life. We form goals of our lives based on our notions of how life works, and we need to be really careful in forming our opinions and behaviors, right? We need to think whatever we believe, is that a rational belief? Does that really make sense, or is just my preconceived notion? So at least, if nothing else, we should take time to investigate our beliefs, see whether they are true or not. And if they are not true, then what's truth? What's really governing everything in life, and what's the right motivation to do what? If we understand the consequences of different activities, which is what we have done over the past few sessions, then we have a better idea of where we need to go. Right? It's not that we have to stop doing philanthropic activities. That's great, because that allows you to not remain in a at least better state of mind than if you would have been otherwise. If you would have been not doing at least that much, then you would spend your money in places you shouldn't spend. And not only that, you're wasting money, you're also getting indulged into a state of mind where you're only thinking about sensory pleasure. With that's extreme kashayas. So at least it keeps your kashayas in check, contains your kashayas. So that's why it's good, but doing it with the right motivation would yield better results. That it would not lead us to have this unrecognized expectations and unrecognized egos, and eventually recognize that that's not the ultimate goal of life anyways. Otherwise our Tirthankaras and our Siddh Bhagavans would have been doing it forever. Why are they not doing it? Why are they in a state of complete infinite meditation, infinite state of bliss? So that's the ultimate state that is worth achieving, and that's why we need to study this and progress in life. Every activity has its own motivation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, not right now.
Does it answer all the unanswered questions that people had last few weeks?
I wasn't here for a couple of sessions myself, but I think the Saurabhji was there to answer questions, so that was helpful.
Okay.
And some of them we were able to discuss amongst our own. I don't have a particular question that comes into mind right now that's unanswered.
Okay. All right. So with that, then I think we are done. Next time we can pick up with management of stress. Hold on, let me stop let me see if I can stop the recording. I can't stop the recording. Let's see if I can exit.
I think
Yeah, Ketan.
Ketan's gonna have to do it from his computer.
Yeah, Ketan's gonna have to do it, looks like. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's
Okay.
end here then. We'll see you next time then. Jai
Okay.
Jananda.
Jai Jai Hind. Bye.